we are glad to have one celebrity nutritionist with us today. Welcome to our show, Prachi.
Thank you so much. I'm so looking forward to this.
Talking of Indians, diabetes again so rampant across our country.
India is sitting on a diabetes time bomb.
11% Indians are diabetics, while
India is often called the diabetes capital of the world.
77 million. If we see an Indian plate, we have 3 to 4 rotis, this much of vegetable, just a small or a half cup of dal, and no salad.
Anti-inflammatory diet with Vidya Balan showing her remarkable weight loss journey.
So I always tell my clients that make sure that your fruit is paired with certain nuts.
What is the bigger villain that we should be worried about?
That is proteins, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins and minerals. When all of these 5 nutrients are put on a plate, we call it a balanced diet. When it becomes a villain, when we
Healthy fats would you recommend for most of our viewers?
So there's one oil which you can use throughout the year, and that is
How does someone choose the most appropriate protein powder?
So I only suggest plant-based protein sources, and especially when it comes to protein powders.
And there are all controversies around ghee, whether it's useful, beneficial, harmful. So what's your take on ghee?
The only catch here is
Diet plays such an important role in our life, and diet is such an integral part of our lifestyle. We are pleased to announce that this podcast we have our celebrity nutritionist, Ms. Prachi Shah, who will help share her views, opinions and expert advice with relation to nutrition and lifestyle. As a nutritionist, she has been into practice for more than 10 years and has had more than thousands of clients, both in an online and offline form. And when we say nutritionist, it's not just about cutting down on your dietary means. It's about eating in the right quantity and the right kind of food that we will talk about. And this podcast will cover a lot of information about foods suitable for us in our Indian scenario, foods which can be suitable for vegetarians as well, foods which help in our circulation. We will also cover some controversies around foods, which may be the role of ghee and oil in diet, as well as the role of anti-inflammatory foods in diet. We will also cover some important tips about minor changes that you can make to help your circulation be better. So, well, as a part of our podcast series, we are glad to have one celebrity nutritionist with us today. And I'm pleased to welcome Prachi Shah, who is a qualified clinical nutritionist with over 10 years of experience. And her motto is, eat better, not less. Welcome to our show, Prachi.
Thank you so much. I'm so looking forward to this.
So let's begin with something related to vascular health and diet. As a nutritionist, what do you feel is important when it comes to maintaining proper circulation?
As a nutritionist, of course, we focus on a lot of different variety of foods which can give you a very good vascular health. When we talk about the entire circulatory system, there's your heart and then all the veins and arteries that takes blood from the heart and to the heart back with so many nutrients, oxygen towards the organs, and takes all the bad blood back to the heart, which is taken away through the kidneys. So when the entire circulation is happening, there are so many nutrients which needs to be delivered to different organs and to the most cellular level so that it can work at the best of its sufficiency. So when we talk about foods, it's all about most importantly fiber rich foods which can give you that flexibility of the arteries and the veins, which is going to take away the risk of the most common disorder that we see in younger and older generations, that is blood pressure, which is also the beginning of other complicated heart diseases. So a high fiber rich diet which comes from all your seasonal fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and from your different kinds of good fats that also we can include in the diet from your nuts and oil seeds, can give you good flexibility of the veins and arteries, which is very, very important to start off with when you're looking at heart health and the functions of your veins and arteries.
So, well, that's an exhaustive list to follow. And talking of Indians, diabetes again so rampant across our country. So, what specific dietary advice would you give to people who have just been diagnosed with diabetes, or people who have diabetes and still are not very cautious about it?
Okay.
And would your advice be different for both these people?
Yes, 100%. It's different for both. But let's talk about certain do's and don'ts for this. Let's first start with don'ts. So, India being called as the diabetes capital of the world, why it is so? Because we have tons and tons of processed foods running in the market which are not well or which are marketed in a very gimmicky way. So, processed food is something that we need to completely take off the charts. Secondly, refined sugars. There are so many myths around sugar, jaggery, brown sugar, honey. All of these parts of sugars are something, and different kinds of sugars which are put on the labels are being ignored by the consumers, which is one of the main reasons that we are falling into this huge category of pre-diabetes and diabetes. Thirdly, a lot of foods which are perishable, but they are modified with lots of additives and preservatives to make the shelf life longer, and they are put into a packet and sold to you, which you feel is healthy, so-called healthy stuff, which we need to be more, open and cautious about. So these are the three main don'ts that we need to completely take it out from our diet. That is processed foods, anything that is into a packet which gives you a longer shelf life, and third is all the refined sugars. If these three things are taken care of, all your risk towards a bad vascular health and other disorders which are more hormone related like diabetes, PCOS, thyroid, Hashimoto syndrome, all of the risk can be reduced.
So, this applies not just to people who have diabetes, but to everybody.
Everybody,
Yeah.
completely everybody. And when we talk about do's, first and foremost, of course, a very clean diet. As we started off, a fiber-rich diet really helps. Secondly, adding in good fats. People who are on a diet, they are very, conservative about fats, that, oh my God, I should not be eating fats. Yes, avoid all the saturated fats, which comes from bakery products, which comes from butter, unsalted butter, which comes from all the fried foods that we eat, but add good fats from almonds, walnuts, flax seeds, sunflower seeds, avocados, extra virgin olive oil, homemade cow milk ghee or A2 cow milk ghee. All of these good fats will help you to lower your LDL cholesterol, which we call as the bad cholesterol or low lipoprotein cholesterol, which will also help you in giving you a good body composition, which means you have a lesser fat percent compared to a more higher muscle mass, which helps you with a better body composition. So doing all of these things in terms of diet. Secondly, being active, at least 30 minutes for 5 days in a week, which is 150 minutes per week of movement, be it walking, jogging, Zumba, dance, Pilates, gym, yoga, whatever you like. Anything that you enjoy doing is important. And third, and the most important, is focusing on your mental health. So these are the three main pillars which will take you away from risk of heart diseases, hormonal related diseases, and will give you overall wellness in a sustainable manner.
And I would agree that sustained efforts are much important, or probably they carry more value than intermittently done very high. Somebody is very strict on a diet and then suddenly goes berserk on whatever they can. So having something which they can sustain over time is very crucial.
Very important, yes. And I think for that, do not take up 10 things on day one. A stepwise baby step approach is very important.
So talking of fats, we've always heard that eat fat and you'll become fat. And we now know that it's a myth. And I would like you to share some of your thoughts about, as a food, is fat the villain or are carbohydrates the villain? What exactly plays a role when it comes specifically to either weight, or we all know that blockages also have a lot of fat in it.
Yes.
So what is the bigger villain that we should be worried about?
So when we talk about nutrients, we know there are 5 nutrients, that is proteins, fats, carbohydrates, vitamins and minerals. When all of these 5 nutrients are put on a plate, we call it a balanced diet. So none of them is a villain. When it becomes a villain, when we start exploiting the amount of certain nutrients to be eaten in a meal. For example, if we see an Indian plate, we have 3 to 4 rotis, this much of vegetable, just a small or a half cup of dal, and no salad. So then who's becoming the villain? It's the roti. Then we all talk about carbs are bad. It's making you gain weight. It's not helping you. And that's when everybody starts going on a low carb or a zero carb diet. What happens then? Then you start going low on your energy. You start feeling fatigued. For how long is your body going to run on a low fuel kind of a condition? That's when again the mental state of a human brain would get into a race that this is not working for me. Let me just get back to what I was. And this gives you the yo-yo effect, where you drop your weight down drastically, you go back to your original routine, you gain weight. Again, you go into a cycle where you again want to lose weight. So this yo-yo effect of weight is giving you insanely higher risks of all of these metabolic disorders. So that is something that we need to start working on, and to not look at foods in terms of calories or in terms of number or grams of what you're eating. That is why I say eat better, not less, where we focus on the type of nutrient, its role in the body, and then we understand that how much and in what combinations you should be eating a particular nutrient. So when it comes to fats, as your original question, that people fear that eating fats is going to make you fat, well, you need to know the differentiation between the types of fats. There are healthy and unhealthy fats. If you're going to eat bread and butter on a daily basis, of course you're going to gain weight. But if you're eating your healthy fats, like putting small amount of ghee in your tadka, putting small amount of ghee on your roti and having it, which will lower the glycemic index of wheat that you're eating, which is going to benefit you. If you're going to add a small handful of nuts, assorted nuts in your diet on a daily basis, it's going to reduce the sugar spikes that you're going to get from any kind of fruit that you're eating. So I always tell my clients that make sure that your fruit is paired with certain nuts. For example, today is the season of mango right now. Always make sure that the mango that you eat, be it a big mango, small mango, whatever, pair it with a couple of almonds. So the fat from the almond is going to give you a gradual sugar spike and not a big spike which will drop down again, which is going to make you feel hungry in no time. So making sure that you are planning your good fats and combining it with all the carbohydrates that you are using so that it's a good combination and keeps you sustained in a longer time, keeps you full for a longer time.
Yeah. So it's so essential to balance out things. Even if you want to enjoy something, have something else with it.
Correct. So combinations are very important. Secondly, fats are even more important for a good hormonal alignment. So that is very crucial for the females to understand, especially who are going through PCOS, endometriosis, hypo or hyperthyroidism, Hashimoto's syndrome. So all of these good fats play a superb role in controlling your hormones and gives you a very good hormonal alignment.
For vegetarians like us, where we feel that our overall fat intake or fat sources are limited. So apart from the ones that you just said, what other healthy fats would you recommend for most of our viewers to get used to and use them on a daily basis?
So the most visible and the most underrated healthy fat is the cooking oil. We do not look it up as a supplement to our body. And there are so many people who love their sabzis and dals and all good lat-pat in oil. So these tadka market, double tadka, all of these oils that we are using are a great source if we choose the right oil and if we make sure that we are having oil rotation throughout the year. So there's one oil which you can use throughout the year, and that is groundnut oil. The most common, easily used in different kinds of foods and cuisines that we eat, specifically in the house, and easily available, especially in Gujarat. So that is something which has the best ratio of saturated, unsaturated, and polysaturated fats. So the ratio is perfectly fitting in. So no need to do oil rotation if you are somebody who's eating groundnut oil. But if you want different oils, if you are not satisfied with just one, every 3 to 4 months change your oil. And for that, there are 4 most important and the easy available oils. One is mustard oil, sarson ka tel. One is sesame seeds oil, which is white til ka tel. Third is cottonseed oil, that is kapasya tel. And fourth is sunflower oil. So these are the 4 oils, if you keep rotating every 3 to 4 months in the entire year, will give you the right fatty acid ratio.
From oils, we move on to ghee. Again, a popular, ingredient loved by so many. And there are all controversies around ghee, whether it's useful, beneficial, harmful. So what's your take on ghee?
It is a superb food. I would call it a superfood because it is something that can give you tons and tons of benefits. The only catch here is from where are you procuring it? Nowadays, we do know there's so much adulteration in the milk products, and we do know there's a lot of milk coming in from the injected animals with injected hormones so that they have a higher production of milk. So if you are procuring your ghee or milk from A2 cows, then it is a superfood for you. It is an elixir for you. So when it comes to ghee, applying it on rotis, adding a half or 1 teaspoon in your dal and rice will drastically reduce the glycemic index of wheat and rice. So all the diabetics who are very, very scared of eating carbs, having the scare of sugar spikes, adding half a teaspoon of your ghee in 2 meals, that is lunch and dinner, with whatever carbs you're eating, be it a bajri ka rotla or a jawar ki roti or a nachni roti or dal chawal or a khichdi, anything with half a teaspoon of ghee in it is going to lower the glycemic index. That is going to give you a great improvement in your insulin activity. When your glucose levels are not super high, insulin release is controlled. It will also make sure that insulin activity and sensitivity gets better. So the blood sugars from this blood streams will easily be administered into the cells. So this glucose can be easily used up. So for all the diabetics and everybody who is focusing on fat loss and weight loss, ghee is superb. The only catch, as I said, where you're procuring from, and second, the quantity.
Make sure that if you eat the right fat, you will not get fat. That's what our take-home message would be. Yeah. And moving from ghee to sugars, sugar has been declared as a poison, almost as a poison, and most of us like it too. So for people who like sugar, what would you recommend that they should be careful when they are choosing sugar in whatever form?
Right. But as you rightly said, it is a poison.
It's a sweet poison, yes.
Yes. So when you are choosing anything that is related with sugars, make sure, first of all, it's not refined. Anything that is refined, we call it as empty calories. It is only giving you taste. It's not giving you nutrition. It's not giving you anything that is going to help your body. So all my clients, when they say I'm craving a lot of sugar, I tell them to first have a self-talk. Does your body need it? If the answer is no, you do not touch it. Now, there are people, even me, in today's life, it's even me who wants to indulge. So when we talk about indulgences, there are lots of healthier options and alternatives that you can use. For example, getting unprocessed, unpasteurized honey, which works amazing. Even Ayurveda claims it, that honey works very well for our bodies, especially in terms of our gut health, digestive health. Second, anything to do with natural unprocessed jaggery, which in today's world it is difficult to find, but if you go deep inside, you can find 1 or 2 brands which are really good, so that can really work. Number 3 is maple syrup, which is also a good alternative to white sugar, which can be used in anything that you make at home in terms of desserts, cakes, or pancakes, whatever. So that works well. So these are the three alternatives which works best. Apart from that, natural sweeteners like dates, bananas, you can use other different fruits, for example, stewed apple. All of these are natural sweeteners which will help you in getting that sweetness in whatever you make at home. For everybody who is off the edge in terms of their weight, who is a diabetic, who has issues with their heart, any heart conditions, try to indulge with anything sugary made at home, because it is made with the clean environment with clean ingredients. Anything that is taken from outside has a lot of unhealthy fats, unhealthy sugar, unhealthy flour or atta which is used, which is completely refined, has nothing left in it. So try to make whatever you crave at home and suffice yourself, make yourself satisfied. So once in a while, indulgence is great, keeps you sane here.
So, and anything about the timing of when to consume sugary foods, even if it's the rightly made one?
I usually suggest in the first half of the day, because you still have the entire day to yourself to burn it off. Even in your regular day-to-day movements, you can consume that, your body can consume that and give you basic energy to completely take it off the body, rather than eating at night and then directly going to sleep.
Yeah. So night cravings are the worst, I would believe.
Worst.
Yeah. And from the white sugar, moving on to another white poison, that is salt.
Correct.
So, most of our Indian foods are quite high in salt content.
Yes.
So, what would you tell our Indian households what care they should take when choosing the right salt?
So, if we see on a generic basis, an individual eats more than 15 grams of salt per day. If you analyze the food throughout the day,
The recommendation is 5.
below 5. So that's 1 teaspoon per day per person. So when you want to control this, the best way to do it is, most of our households have cook these days. For example, there are 5 people in your house. You are a family of 5. Per person 5 grams, which is 1 teaspoon. So in the morning when you wake up, take a cup, put 5 teaspoons of salt in a cup and put it on the side, and keep your salt ka dabba up in a cupboard where it's not reachable. Throughout the day, monitor how much salt you're using in your entire cooking and your intake of the food. This is going to help you in lowering the sodium intake, the salt intake. It's going to make sure that salt, whenever it is eaten more, it increases water retention, which gives you a bigger bulk into your blood volume, which puts a lot of load on the heart for it to pump. That is when all the things start going south. So when you control your salt intake in a way where you are, keeping a quantity check, it helps a lot. On the contrary, all the foods that we eat has its own sodium content. We have never eaten food without salt, so we don't know the natural flavor. So we have to also keep that into consideration, where salt, whatever you put on top, plus the sodium content of the food itself, which is more than sufficient for your body to sustain. So 5 grams, 1 teaspoon per person per day is the limit.
Yeah, so salt being again increasing the quantity of salt, there are certain foods which are probably playing a big role apart from the salt that you add in your diet.
Correct.
So which of these foods would you really specifically say that one should avoid if they want to take care of their circulation?
Anything that is bakery, so breads, anything that is confectionery, that is something that we want to avoid. Salted butters. When we are applying butter on bread, we don't have the portion that how much to apply. We just make sure that it's applied properly throughout the bread. So all the salted butters, which are a complete no-no. Any savory snack that comes from those packets, like chips, kurkure, sev mamra that we get with some chaat masala on top, all of these things. chaat masala used in buttermilks and on top of fruits to make it more appetizing is something that we should be avoiding. Any top salt in your salads is something we want to avoid. So all of these are something that can be reduced easily, where we need to savor the natural taste of the food that we are eating. For example, in a salad, you do have taste of cucumber, tomato, carrot. We need to savor the natural taste rather than modifying it with salt and, eating it. So I usually suggest and recommend alternatives towards it, where you can use fresh herbs, you can use fresh oregano, you can add in some chili flakes, you can add lemon, you can add jeera powder, you can add black pepper. All of these are natural flavorings which can substitute salt and can give you taste and health together.
Great. And processed foods, again, something that the way that our generation is seeing and our future generation will probably face it much more. So what's your take on how to reduce the overall intake of processed foods?
I think processed foods came into the picture when market started seeing people's life as more heavy and hectic. That's when the conveniency got in, and that's when the processed food started getting in. For example, like today, if I speak to my clients in the US or Canada, they hardly have time to stay in the kitchen. So when I ask them to make, say, rajma chawal, or if I ask them to make, hummus, they would just get those canned beans. They would get a canned pinto beans for Mexican preparation. They would get canned chickpeas to make chole or make hummus. So all of these canned foods have this liquid, which is like a brine. It's salt water. So all of these things are something which are giving you more conveniency, but you really don't know what kind of damage you are putting inside your body. So processed foods, as it says processed, from natural to a processed version, when it comes from the farm to your plate, the processing that it goes through, you completely lose out on all the nutrition. Then what is left is taste, texture, and the quantity, which is doing no good to your body. And I am of the thinking that when you are focusing on a healthy lifestyle, when you are embracing the food, when you have a positive food psychology, taste matters 100% because you want to enjoy what you're eating. But when we talk about when taste matters, we want to make it a point that everything that you use is natural to you and beneficial at the same time. So processed foods is something, yes, we need to work on, where things are supremely fried. They are put into brines and broths for increasing the shelf life. There are lean cut meats, which we do recommend to clients for healthy intake of proteins. But these days, those are also processed and frozen. So all of these methods are depriving the nutrition, and yet consumer is not so educated even in today's life that they are just counting grams of proteins dumping in the body but not understanding the quality of nutrition that they are putting in the body.
So protein has become, a superhero of sorts for some time, and we know the benefits of protein. And there are quite a few myths with relation to proteins, especially for vegetarians, where they feel that they may not get adequate sources of protein. So what would you recommend should be the ideal source of protein? And for those viewers who think that protein powders and supplements are only for those who want to go to the gym and do bodybuilding, it's a strict no. And Prachi will tell us why proteins are essential for all of us and what we can do to get them in proper quantity.
So as primary focus of ours is on vascular health, proteins are very, very important, which helps you in building healthy arteries and veins. When you have enough protein in the diet, just like fats, it's going to reduce the sugar spikes. When there are high sugar spikes, there's a lot of scaling in the arteries and veins, which makes it very unhealthy in terms of blood circulation, in terms of plaque formation. And that's when all of these blockages come into the picture. Of course, paired with unhealthy lifestyle, more carbs, unhealthy fats. So when there is enough protein in the diet, your vascular health and the fibers of each and every chamber of the heart are tuned so well, and they are so strengthened that your heart is going to pump properly, it's going to give you the best of efficiency. So with enough proteins in the diet, not only vascular health but diabetic health, taking care of your sugar levels, no sugar spikes, focusing on lower fat percent, more muscle mass, giving you good strength and fitness, keeping you young, because protein is the only nutrient which works on anti-aging. So all of these are the benefits of protein. Now, from what sources does it come to us? Is through vegetarians, low fat dairy products, which is from A2 cow milk, Greek yogurt, homemade dahi, which is regular curd that we eat, also works great as a probiotic, buttermilk, paneer made out of the same milk and not store bought. Anybody who's intolerant to milk products can completely have a good substitute of tofu, soy milk, almond milk, tempeh, edamame, and then comes in all our whole grains, which is beans, lentils, oatmeal, complex carbohydrates like bajra, jawar, ragi. All of these are great sources of proteins for vegetarians. Now, when we talk about grams of proteins that you must be eating, and of course there are many vegetarians who feel that we are eating less protein because we don't have enough variety. It is not important to work on the amount. It is important to know the amino acid score, which is very important. And that will come in with proper combinations. Now, if you're eating 2 to 3 cups of dals every day to make sure that you are having enough amount of proteins, that is not going to work because it is not having all the essential amino acids. But when you place your 2 cups of dal with 1 cup of rice, that dal rice combination is giving you a complete amino acid score, giving you the best absorption of protein and giving you that result which you can also get from an egg. So that combination is very important.
So there are plenty of choices for us vegetarians as well.
Yes, 100%. And I also recommend plant-based protein supplements for vegetarians, which you can use to fill the gap which is not filled by the foods. So food first, figure out the gap and supplement with a plant-based protein supplement. So both together can give you the right amount of protein intake for the day.
So on the same lines, protein with so many different protein powders available, how does someone choose the most appropriate protein powder?
So I only suggest plant-based protein sources, and especially when it comes to protein powders. 2 reasons. 1, they come from very clean sources. Number 2, it is something that you can take any time of the day and not only right after the workout. Because when you are focusing on a whey protein, it needs a good heavy blood circulation for it to quickly absorb it. With plant-based protein, it can be absorbed any time of the day. It has high fiber intake, so no chances of bloating. These fibers work as prebiotics, which are the food for your gut bacteria. So they feed onto that and grow the good population of bacteria, keeping your digestive health completely okay. And third, it has super less risk of any kind of hormonal imbalances, especially in females. So anybody with extra requirement of protein powders or supplements, after they have supplemented themselves with natural food, plant-based protein powders works the best. And they also give you exactly the same effect as whey protein.
There's been a lot of, interest around anti-inflammatory diet, with Vidya Balan showing her remarkable weight loss journey. And we also believe that inflammation plays a major role in the initiation of vascular problems. So can you share a few thoughts about what is an inflammatory diet and how it can help, in what other conditions it can be helpful?
Correct. So there are 2 approaches. One, of course, through the food and the lifestyle changes that we do. Number 2 is through your mental health. Let me focus first on the mental health, because when I see somebody coming to me to consult, on day 1, they are so stressed that ये मेरा सब खाना बंद करवाने वाली है, तो आज मुझे जो खाना है मैं खा लेता हूँ और खा लेती हूँ. And that stress is something which is increasing the cortisol levels in your body, which is giving rise to a lot of inflammation in the body. We do not, realize this subconscious stress is doing tons and tons of damage to your body. So mental health and focusing onto that to make sure that anxiety and stress is controlled. We as humans, it's never going to be zero because we are in constant management. So controlling that is very important. So that's the first and the foremost thing that needs to work in terms of anti-inflammatory diet. Secondly, through food and lifestyle, there are lots of anti-inflammatory superfoods which needs to be taken in a very small amount but has a huge impact. For example, turmeric, curcumin works amazing in terms of reducing the inflammation. Now, when curcumin is paired with black pepper, that's when it gets absorbed the best. So rather than having haldi water, make sure you add a pinch of black pepper to your haldi water, which gives you better absorption. Secondly, in winters, there's this super Indian gooseberry, amla, which is a superfood in terms of the highest vitamin C that is procured compared to any food in India. So that is something that works the best. Either you eat it as it is or you ferment it. We in Gujaratis we say athila amla. So you have it like that. You make a juice of it and have a amla shot. That works the best. Third is flax seeds, arsi, or we call it I don't know the Hindi name. But yeah, flax seeds work amazing. Rich in omega-3, has the best combination of EPA and DHA, which can be anti-inflammatory. 1 teaspoon post-lunch as a mouth freshener works amazing. Good fats, low carb, anti-inflammatory, and super high fiber intake. So that works very well. Other anti-inflammatory foods can come in from all your seasonal vegetables. So anything that has to do with yellow, red and orange foods, which are rich in vitamin A, D, E and K. These are 4 vitamins which are completely anti-inflammatory. Carrots, red capsicum, beetroots, pumpkin, butternut squash, different kinds of other roots and tubers, sweet potato, purple yam also called as ratadu. All of these are amazing anti-inflammatory sources of foods which included in the diet can work best for you, can reduce your CRP levels that you see in your blood reports, which nobody understands. They just know that it's high, but that can be reduced. Your cortisol levels are going to be reduced. You're going to feel super nice in terms of good fiber intake, very light feeling in the body, good weight loss, good mental health, and all of it, which is going to make you happy, is going to reduce inflammation in the body.
Yeah. The colored foods are very popular, and
Yes.
in fact, we have when we are researching for foods which affect circulation, we came across many videos which highlighted the role of cayenne pepper
Yes,
in improving circulation.
correct.
Although personally I believe that they are beneficial to have a proper circulation, the problem arises when people use that as a treatment. So what would you recommend so there's one food advice which is for people who want to stay healthy,
Right.
and there's another advice for people who already have had vascular problems. So what would you advise the people who've already had some vascular problems?
Correct. So as we started with, first a high fiber diet, which gives you good flexible veins and arteries for a good blood flow. Number 2, healthy fats, which will help in lowering the LDL cholesterol, which ideally should be below 130, but if it is a little below 100, best. HDL levels, which needs to go up, which also comes in with intake of healthy fats as we discussed, but paired with a good movement and a good workout. For people who are elderly, basic walking right after the meals, 10 minutes after breakfast, 10 minutes after lunch, 10 minutes after dinner, that gives you 30 minutes in a day. And no need to go out in a park or outside to walk, just round your dining table. Just get in 100 to 200 steps post a meal and you are good to go. So that is your HDL levels. Making sure combinations and portions of carbohydrates are right so that your triglycerides are in the right range below 150. So anything that comes from roti, rice, bread, pasta, noodles, everything needs to be from complex carbs in terms of jawar, jaw, ragi, nachni, bajra. If you're eating wheat, these days we also know a component as khapli khapli wheat atta, which is low in gluten. So it doesn't give you that spike in the sugar. So that is something that everything, all of these comes from your complex carbs. If you focus on rice, white rice is okay, but unpolished. Try and have red rice, which is high fiber. So even if you eat just 2 spoons, you're full. So giving that satisfaction of rice side by side, giving the health benefits, helps diabetics and vascular patients in getting the right track of your diet. Apart from all of these things, focusing on to anti-inflammatory foods, having one superfood per day can give a drastic change in their overall health. So adding in different kinds of anti-inflammatory foods from fruits, vegetables, oil seeds, adding in turmeric, spirulina, drumstick soup, which is known as Saragwani Singh, or moringa powder, which is the leaf of the drumstick plant, which is great for body's health and for your heart and your vascular system. So all of these foods for people who are already going through a vascular condition works best. Monitor your fluid intake. Hydration is important. Side by side, how much fluid is to be taken complying to your condition is also important. Keeping your liver and kidneys in check side by side is also important. So putting in a lot of anti-inflammatory foods and fiber-rich foods to keep it completely clear. So that is important. And as we talked about proteins, which keeps you in a good strengthening pace for the body, is also something that is crucial.
From food, moving on to beverages. As Indians, we are always willing for some or the other beverages. So what should we be careful about when choosing the right beverage?
Correct. So beverages, very important. Apart from water, there are so many healthy beverages which keeps you hydrated, keeps your electrolytes in check, especially for vascular conditions and also for diabetics. So the best of best that we know is chash, buttermilk. Again, from low-fat milk, make the curd at home, make the chash out of it. Enrich it with, to flavor it more, enrich it with jeera, mint leaves. You can put in some black salt, which we call as sanchar. That also is beneficial, gives you good electrolyte balance, keeps you cool in this heat, and works very well as a protein source and a probiotic source. That's number one. Number two, coconut water, natural, very good as hydration, again gives you good electrolyte balance and is the most sterile liquid that we can get. So works very well for the body. Number three, sattu juice. Sattu is a powder that we get from the roasted chana that we eat as snack. Just blend them, sieve it, and that powder that you get, you can add it into your water, mix it, add nimbu, jeera, and your juice is ready. High protein, high iron, high calcium, and works very well in summers as a great cooler, and works very well as a filling juice as well. Number four, a vegetable juice. This is a no-brainer. Open your fridge, get any two vegetables, get a little bit of adrak, add nimbu, blend everything with water or blend it with coconut water. Do not strain and drink it. Your daily fiber intake is in that one glass. All your vitamins, minerals, fibers, everything is done. But make sure no fruits, only vegetables. So fruits are not to be juiced. So fruit juices are a no-no beverage. Fruits are only to be eaten because the minute you juice them, the fiber complexes break and you are left with only sugar water, that is fructose water. So quick spikes and quick drops in the sugar. If, for example, if you see an orange juice, to make one glass, you're using aram se 4 to 5 oranges. But can you eat 4 to 5 oranges?
You feel it, it's like being punished.
Exactly. So no fruit juices, only fruits are to be eaten. No sugary beverages which are canned juices, Tropicana Real, whatever you call it. No canned juices, no Tetra Pak juices, nothing. Nimbu pani is one which is very easily made, available, can be had in any kind of economic zones throughout our country. So works very well. Now to sweeten it, we talked about unprocessed honey. So we can add a little bit of that and make your Nimbu pani through it. So works very well. So in terms of beverages, no fruit juices, no canned juices, no sharbats, no outside
No sodas, no
no
colas.
sodas, no colas, no aerated drinks, but all of these other beverages, buttermilk, coconut water, sattu juice, vegetable juice, nimbu pani, all of these things work amazing with our human body.
Great. So, I mean, anything that comes from a store or is packed is not good for
Is
you.
not good for you.
Yeah.
I know it tastes amazing, but we have our days for that.
So, for the days for somebody who wishes to have a healthy lifestyle, and I agree that you have to indulge at times. So, how often can someone have cheat meals?
1 meal per week. That's ideal. That's doable. And that is something that you look forward to. And the next day, you also look if you are a person who's dedicated, who wants to lead a healthy life, after a cheat meal, the person is also looking forward to a good workout to burn it off. So, 1 meal per week is completely fine. Again, in a reasonable portion. Do not take that meal in a way that you will just outdo the entire week's efforts. So, 1 meal a week, eat whatever you want, wherever you want, in a small, moderate portion, and keep your sanity while you are focusing onto a healthy lifestyle.
Well, thank you, Prachi, and we won't let you go. We have a few rapid fire questions for you as well, and you'll have to instantly answer them. So I'll have a look at my phone and push you those rapid fire questions.
Let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah. So your favorite 3 vegetarian sources of protein?
Paneer, chickpeas, and yogurt.
Great. The 3 healthiest fruits that you would recommend?
Kiwi, apple, strawberries.
And the 3 most beneficial beverages?
Buttermilk, nimbu pani, sattu juice.
Now we have to make a choice, and that also has to be done rapidly. Oil versus ghee.
Ghee.
Fruit versus fruit juice. You answered that already.
Fruit.
Veg protein versus whey protein.
Veg protein.
Supplements versus diet.
Diet.
Diet versus lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
Great. So yeah, diet is a part of lifestyle, and in lifestyle, diet, exercise, mobility, everything plays an important role.
Right.
It was great to have you here, Prachi, and I'm sure that our viewers also will have an amazing time listening to the entire podcast, because primarily related to vascular health, but there are a lot of key takeaway points that anybody who has no problem will benefit from this podcast.
Yes.
On an ending note, Prachi, would you like to tell something to our viewers about, in case someone wants to consult you?
Sure.
So how can you take it?
So you can consult me or get in touch with us through our Instagram page. It is @SharpRachi. You can also log on to our website www.sharprachi.com and get in touch with us. We have different plans which will help you in terms of healthy living. Any kind of medical conditions can also be worked around. Fat loss, diabetes, cardiac, anything to do with gut has an exclusive gut reset program. So we have tons and tons to offer. So get in touch and we are happy to help you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.